Hi, it's Scott, ROCKFILE, back with another podcast review for you. Let's talk about the first of the Game Trilogy. Got to be talking about the Japanese film, The Most Dangerous Game. Another in the box of movies I got from Arrow Video, the Game Trilogy was a late 70s trilogy of movies that launched an actor named Yusaku Matsuda. He became the new tough guy for a generation into the 80s. He was a screen icon for years. Matter of fact, he made his Hollywood debut in Ridley Scott's Black Rain film and then died of cancer at the age of 40 shortly thereafter. This was one of the movies I really wanted from Arrow, and they were having a great sale. These 3 movies on Blu-ray usually go for about $40. The regular price is somewhere around $28, and I got it for a lot less than that. You get 3 movies on 2 Blu-rays. You also get a booklet, a reversible sleeve, and a thick cover on this limited edition. It's been out for a little while. They're not out of it. A lot of stores still have it and are putting it on sale, including Amazon, so you can pick it up if you're so inclined. So I watched the first movie the other night. I really didn't know what to expect. I really bought this based on that description I just read to you. Late 70s movies, a trilogy of movies that launched this guy that I remember from Black Rain. I'm a fan of Japanese films. This trilogy had never been available outside of Japan before now. Supposed to have great cinematography, a great score, all that kind of stuff. And so I picked it up. It was pretty cheap for 3 movies. And they said, oh, this is a rarity. Each movie got a higher budget than the one before it. They actually kind of get better in that respect. So I watched the first movie, and I got to say, not only was it an entertaining film, it's definitely a product of its time. Like, this movie would not get remade today. It'll be a much different film. He plays a hitman. He's ice cool, quick trigger finger, heart of stone. Nobody gets to him. In the first movie, he's basically taking out the competition to get a government defense contract. That's really the gist of it. He's, through most of the movie, trying to find people to kill them. Now, I'm going to get into some semi-spoiler territory, but this movie came out at the end of the 1970s. So if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry, but to talk about the film and not talk about these things, I think some people would be sensitive to it. This is not a movie that would get made today by some of the ways that he and other characters treat women. I am not a person who's offended by that kind of thing because I watch a lot of old movies and TV shows and things like that. But my jaw hit the floor a couple times with some of the things that happened in this movie. One scene in particular, he's looking for the bad guy who just left his mistress. So he goes into the mistress' house, kind of knocks her around, threatens to throw her off the balcony, waits around until she starts getting phone calls. And finally, when he comes, he basically starts to rape the woman. And she goes from hating it to really liking it, to which he says to the person on the phone, see, she likes it. And he's really just trying to set the guy off because he wants to kill this guy, and the guy's gone into hiding. I get why the scene happened and how it was filmed, and the whole movie is actually artistically done. It's not a B movie. It's not cheap by any stretch of the imagination, but we would not show a scene like that in that context now. It would play out a little differently. That being said, there's something to his character. He seems to have no compunction about, doing things that are not real good in the interest of completing his mission. And not that he's a good guy. He's a hitman. It's your basic anti-hero tough guy. But what happens with that character, I told you that was a scene that happens early in the film. She follows him and stays with him. They become a thing. She wants to treat his wounds when he's injured after a thing, and he still doesn't treat her very well, but she's in his house. And there were parts of the movie that I just thought were a little strange, but it's also well filmed. The cinematography is great. There's some low light scenes. This was not a big budgeted Japanese film at the time from the late 70s, so there's a lot of grain in some of the nighttime scenes, but he's doing some like parkour stuff over buildings. He's setting up to kill some people. He's chasing people. That's all really well done. There's some car things that are really well done. It's a decent movie. It actually, when it was over, it's an hour and a half. I was entertained. Like I said, I was shocked a couple of times. There is a bit of nudity in the film, which is, again, old Japanese films, they usually get right up to that point but don't show anything. This one did. There's several scenes with women being tossed around naked for several minutes of screen time. Again, things we don't normally see these times. Like I said, the cinematography is good. The music is jazzy and really good. I didn't make a note of who did it. I will on the next one. I have 2 more movies to watch. But what you can tell with this movie is it kind of raised the bar from what had come before for Japanese action movies in general. And its influence is felt today. There is a whole lot of John Wick in here. This is a movie that was filmed in the late 70s. And a movie that wasn't seen outside of Japan. So was it something that related to John Wick? Did the stuntmen who made John Wick see this film and take some of the elements from that? Maybe, I don't know, but this did influence a lot of people, and I see why. It's a good film, and the character Yatsuka Matsuda took a little Japanese. I'm terrible. Anyway, he's got incredible screen presence. He can literally not say anything, and with the emotions on his face or just the deadpan look on his face, can say a lot. There's a reason why he was a rising star and why he is the #1 Japanese star that Ridley Scott cast for Black Rain. If you've seen that movie where they go over to Japan. Anyway, he was the lead actor. Anyway, long story short, The Most Dangerous Game, be careful when you look it up. There's a lot of movies called The Most Dangerous Game. That is also the name of that book where people are hunted for sport that's been made into Hard Target, The Most Dangerous Game, and many other movies. But you want to look up the game trilogy, The Most Dangerous Game, because the game trilogy is The Most Dangerous Game, The Killing Game, and The Execution Game. The first disc had the movie and some extras. The second disc has both movies, the second and third movies. I don't know about extras. I haven't gotten to that. But I will watch them this week, and you will hear the reviews of the other 2 if you're so inclined, if you're interested in that kind of thing. For old Japanese cinema, it's definitely not Kurosawa or something like that. But for action films, this is how we got to where we are today. And I love movies like that. A movie I can watch and go, oh, yeah, I can think of about 10 movies that probably got inspiration from this film. And this was one of the first kinds of this kind of thing. So anyway, The Most Dangerous Game, part of the game trilogy, I would give a halfway recommendation to if you're into late 70s Japanese action films. If you're not so much into foreign films or very misogynistic foreign films, may not be your cup of tea, but if you are, and you can suspend some of that and enjoy the film for what it is and a product of its time, I think it's definitely worth a watch, and I can't wait to watch the next 2 because I think they're going to be better than this one. So check it out. The Most Dangerous Game is part of the game trilogy, available on Arrow Video. I believe it also streams on Arrow Video. As far as the quality of the Blu-rays, you get the original mono Japanese soundtrack. Sounds great for its time, actually. I thought it matrixed into all my channels and sounded really good. Everything was pretty much understandable, even though I'm watching subtitles and don't have it cranked up for such. There are some nice scenes of kind of immersion, even though it's a mono soundtrack. And the movies look as good as I think they would. I don't know if they've had a 4K restoration or just a 2K restoration. I told you there were some grainy scenes, but all in all, these movies look much better than they probably did on their VHS and DVD counterparts. Look pretty good in high def. Again, take the source material, the budget, and the place where they were filmed all in that and say, yeah, they look pretty good. I'll let you know on the next 2. The game trilogy is available now. Check it out if you're into old Japanese hitman cinema. I'm Scott. I'm ROCKFILE. Got more podcasts on the way. Please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps with the algorithm. I'm actually seeing it help, so thank you very much. Have a spectacular day.